Hello and welcome viewers, I am Pia and you're watching NewsX. It's been over 3 days since the analysis of the black box found in the Boeing 787 Dreamliner that crashed in Ahmedabad has commenced. We still await to understand what led to the crash of flight a mere 32 seconds after takeoff, which killed 275 people, including the entire crew. Our sister news organization, the Sunday Guardian, has spoken to Mary Schiavo, who is a global aviation expert. She suspects that the cause was a software failure in Boeing itself. Let's first understand who she is and then have a look at the interview and the claims she has made in this Sunday Guardian exclusive. First up, she is a renowned global aviation expert. Let's take a look at what all organizations she's headed and what all is her work. She's the former Inspector General of the United States Department of Transportation. So, of course, heading the entire US Department of Transportation, a renowned expert who's now weighed in an exclusive interview with the Sunday Guardian. She represented families who sued US airlines involved in the 9/11 attacks. So she's also been a part of the legal procedure as far as ensuring justice for the victims of 9/11 are concerned. She's worked as an aviation analyst at Motley Rice and has written several security books on aviation safety, including Flying Blind, Flying Safe. She's, of course, now spoken exclusively to the Sunday Guardian. Meanwhile, she's secured over 1,000 criminal convictions, air safety, crimes and disasters. This is, of course, her very solid record as far as the legal aspect of her career is concerned. She's won the Aviation Laurel Award in 1992 and 1995 by the Aviation Week. All right, viewers, let's now take a look at what exactly she's told our sister newspaper, the Sunday Guardian. We have the entire transcript of the interview that has been published. You can find it online as well. I have it on my screen over here. I request our team to kindly showcase it on our television screens as well. In this particular article, it's written, Mary Schiavo, who served as the Inspector General of the United States Department of Transportation, is now a veteran aviation attorney with Motley Rice, one of the largest and most prominent plaintiffs' law firms in the United States. She's raised serious concerns that the crash of Air India Flight 171 may have been caused by a computer-triggered engine thrust rollback similar to a known software malfunction in Boeing 787 aircraft previously investigated by the US National Transportation Safety Board. Her experience with major complex aviation litigation includes more than 50 cases on behalf of the family members of the passengers and crew of all planes hijacked on September 11, 2001. Under Schiavo's direction, the agency investigated air safety, crimes and disasters and secured more than 1,000 criminal convictions and exposed billions of dollars of fraud, waste and abuse of taxpayer money. She's also testified before the US Congress multiple times on transportation safety, security, budgeting and infrastructure. Drawing on decades of aviation litigation experience, including major crash probes around the world, Schiavo warned of the risks of Boeing's involvement in its own investigations and offered specific recommendations for India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation. Here are some excerpts. The very first question was posed, can you please elaborate on which Boeing 787 systems are known to rely on computer inputs to determine whether the aircraft is airborne or on the ground, and how a misclassification could affect engine thrust in flight? She's answered that there are several systems that rely on these and similar computer inputs, but in this particular case, I suspect the thrust control malfunction accommodation, which is a Federal Aviation Administration required addition to the 787 aircraft model. She's further gone on to state that the computer senses when the aircraft is on the ground and when the throttles are supposed to be at idle. The TMCA will then instruct the full authority digital engine control, which controls all aspects of the engine's performance. The FADEC automatically and without pilot input adjusts engine settings to optimize performance. The further question was asked, in the 2019 incident involving Japan's Air Nippon Airways, you referenced what was the root cause of the dual engine rollback, and was it formally acknowledged as a software design flaw by Boeing regulators? She stated that yes, as described above, there was an investigation by the US NTSB and corrective action was ordered on 787. The third question that was posed by the Sunday Guardian: based on your review of similar cases, would a computer-triggered thrust reduction event leave distinct signatures in the flight data recorder that investigators should be looking for in the AI171 Ahmedabad case? She stated that yes, the TCMA or FADEC commands will be recorded on the flight data recorder that has been now recovered. Fourth question that was posed by the Sunday Guardian: do you see parallels in how Boeing handled disclosure and remediation of the FCAS issue? The US Department of Justice found they tried to hide, and how they may have approached the software-based risks in the 787 fleet. She answered that there may be a parallel. After the 2019 ANA incident, warnings and requirements for inspection and repair were issued. However, the world's attention was on the 737 MAX 8 MCAS disasters. While that is no excuse, inspections and repair protocols should have been thorough and sufficiently robust to eliminate the problem, and most likely under warranty. All 787s should have been inspected and the repair and software updates completed. Inspections and repairs, as instructed by Boeing, would have been up to each operator and maintenance operation to ensure completion. The following question that was asked by the Sunday Guardian is: as someone who has litigated multiple international crash investigations, what steps should India's DGCA and the AI171 investigation team prioritize in order to ensure independent verification of potential software failure, especially if Boeing is involved in the probe? She's further gone on to answer that the investigators need to carefully review the aircraft maintenance and repair records, thoroughly examine what exactly the NTSB 787 investigation revealed, investigate what data and records they had from Boeing, and equally important, explore what they did not previously receive or review from Boeing. Furthermore, she stated that this aircraft model had the ability to send health data to both Boeing and the airline. Did the airline and or Boeing have this data for this aircraft, and if so, what was done with it, and did anyone pay attention? Last, of course, she's gone on to answer a question pertaining to the affected family members and what they can do. She has of course stated that families can ask for frequent updates to be informed about the investigators' progress, and that family pressure helps prevent investigators from relying too much on Boeing. All right, this of course is the article that has been published in the Sunday Guardian today itself. It is titled "Boeing 787 software may have caused the AI crash, aviation experts take." All right, with us on the broadcast is Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist. We also have Group Captain UK Devnath. He's a defense expert, and Wing Commander S. Sudhakaran. He's the CEO of Q Gates Technology. A very good afternoon to everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on NewsX. I did read out the entire Sunday Guardian article, and what exactly did Mary Schiavo tell our sister newspaper? Mr. Mukherjee, I'd like to go across to you first. What are your observations from this particular article, and do you think a software glitch, as Mary Schiavo has noted, could have caused the Air India 171 crash? Is that a possibility that should be considered?
Well, yes, it can certainly be considered, but a lot of it has to do with a more step-by-step investigation of the black box and the flight recorder data, It is possible that there is a malfunction in the aircraft itself. The engine failure is palpable. People who have seen the video could see that the aircraft just wasn't getting the kind of liftoff. If there are software glitches, they tend to show up earlier in the actual investigation and flight checks. It would be very strange for it to go undetected till the aircraft takes off. The implication is that it is uncertain and it could happen to any aircraft at any time, particularly made by Boeing. And so you really don't know about a crisis till it hits you, which in this case seems unlikely because this aircraft has been in operation with Air India for over a decade and has worked just fine. So in this instance, where we have been told that both the engines were fairly new, one was brand new and the other one had been overhauled 3 months ago, but the flaps didn't open, the wheels didn't retract. There were multiple issues that did not function as they would have if the software or the hardware was in good form. So I'm not convinced that this is the one and only reason. It is a possibility and it bears further investigation. To try and give a clean chit to the hardware part of the aircraft,
All right, I'd also like to rope in Wing Commander S. Sudhakaran with us on the broadcast. What do you make of this observation that has been made by Mary Schiavo? She stated that the thrust control malfunction accommodation and the full authority digital engine control commands will be recorded on the flight data recorder. We know for a fact that the black box is currently being investigated. Meanwhile, of course, it has been hinted that the angle of sabotage is not going to be ruled out. But in this particular case that she is highlighted, should investigators also probe this angle of a software glitch?
See, I am both an aeronautical engineer as well as a software practitioner, a deep tech practitioner, so I can't really comment on this. So prima facie, I would like to, give this disclaimer that I don't like conspiracy theories. But at the same time, when we get into investigation, criminal investigation, because there are a lot of lives that we have lost here, we cannot rule out or discount any possibility, any remote possibility, even if it exists. On the day when the accident happened, I was live with you. My first apprehension was it a bird hit? Because Ahmedabad is notorious as an airfield for a bird menace. It has been flagged time and again. And if both engines had to fail at the same time, spontaneously, there is nothing beyond a bird hit that explains that. There were a lot of people who were talking about the flaps not being, the misconfiguration, pilot error. I didn't believe it because both the pilots were very competent. They had huge hours. It is actually stupid to, immediately cast aspersion on something like that. But yes, we shouldn't rule it out as well. But as we saw the entire sequence of events, everything happened. The total incident lasted around 59 odd seconds precisely. First 20 seconds was absolutely perfect because otherwise the flight wouldn't have been in the trajectory that it was. It wouldn't have got cleared for takeoff. And therefore, the first 17 seconds, if I have to put it precisely, was absolutely perfect. Something happened around the 17th to 20th second, which created the problem. Now, why 17th to 20th is the plane had reached the speed V1, which is what made or forced the pilot to take off from the ground. But I think just at that moment, he was not ready because he's not given that panic call. But right at the time this takeoff happens, that's when all the pilots have confirmed this, the undercarriage goes in. That has not happened, which means the pilot knew that it is still not safe to put the undercarriage inside. Something they had information 2-3 seconds before, which subsequently they had called up saying that thrust not building, and it is falling. The aircraft is falling. This is the call that the pilot had given to the ATC. So within this 10 seconds, what could have happened? These aircrafts are not designed to fail like this. They had dual engines and they have at least 2 to 3 levels of redundancy built at every layer. If that be the redundancy, to tell that all these redundancies failed all of a sudden is something very difficult to digest as an aeronautical engineer as well as a software professional, because we don't create what is called as SPFs in the design, single point of failures. And therefore, it becomes I got very curious to look into it. And that's when the rat theory came out, and which confirmed that the engines were not building the thrust, and therefore the power had failed off, which is what compelled the rat to get deployed. Now, when you analyze this 12 to 15 seconds, what Chiago had commented is very, very plausible. But then there arises multiple questions, because these software bugs don't come out after 10 years just like that. There is another instance of around 2019 in Japan, wherein such a bug was noticed. But then there is a talk that this bug has not been cleared across the fleet. That means Boeing is there to be held in the witness box to explain if it is so. I don't believe this is so, because generally in aircrafts, if a fleet encounters such a bug, it is a bulletin that is issued across, and it is ensured that the entire fleet is cleared of that bug. In Air Force, it happens like that. And I'm surprised that being in the same industry, that Boeing doesn't practice it. So therefore, there is a plausibility. Now comes to the angle of conspiracy and sabotage. This needs to be very, very closely watched, because today, as the technologies are evolving, there is a very high possibility that a bugged piece of hardware could have got introduced during a maintenance, and it could also, if I'll be surprised if it could be a zero-day attack. A zero-day attack could manifest at the right time, the time of choosing of somebody else, which means it could happen like this. This is exactly like what the pager attack that happened to the Hezbollahs done by the Israelis. So, I wouldn't rule out a zero-day attack through a hardware that could have got introduced during the maintenance. That's one possibility. The second possibility is a remote access gained, because that's an angle that is being checked into. Because what has happened is, what has come out of the leaked, or I don't know if it is leaked or if it is a misinformation campaign, but what is coming out as of now that I'm learning of the last 4 or 5 days that I've been following this story is that there is an engine shutdown which has been given from within. The pilots have not given it, because the pilot's communication is, asked to recheck if the switches are in the correct position, which has been confirmed from the cockpit. Now, if that be so, and a command has been raised from within, then it could only be from either the FADEC or the ICAS, the EICAS. Now, if this has happened, then there is definitely some level of bug that has either been introduced through a hardware change, or through a software upgrade, or through an unauthorized access by someone or a remote access. Now, these are things that I can't tell now. It is to be probed, because the initial findings of the FDR probably suggests that the data is indicating towards a digital shutdown of both the engines. So that explains that if it is not the birds that has hit the engines, it has happened from within. Now, if it has happened from within, it explains the remaining part of the story, wherein the rats have got deployed, the thrust has not got generated. It corroborates with the version of the pilot, wherein he's given that call and then the flight has gone to the ground. So everything else gets explained. Now, what we need to explain is what happened, how this bug came up, and if at all, if it is a bug, it will be very difficult to look at the engine parameters, because most of it is burnt, and I've been given to understand that even the memory chips have been burnt, so therefore they're finding difficulty to get the complete log of the FDRs as well as the cockpit voice recorders. But then I think some facts are bound to come out, because there is another angle. Even if everything gets wiped out, there is a simulation that we can do on all these things, suspecting on each part of the hardware component as well as the software component. That is possible, but then that is going to take a lot of time. But then for now, I think I will go with the software malfunction theory. That plausibly explains what happened, why it happened, and when it happened.
All right, before I rope in Group Captain UK Devnath, who's been waiting rather patiently with us, I'd like to explain to our viewers what exactly is this thrust control malfunction accommodation that was referred to by Mary Schiavo. Let's in fact take a look at it at the big wall itself. Now, this entire thrust control malfunction accommodation is a safety system designed to mitigate the risks associated with engine thrust control malfunction. So, this is inbuilt within the software itself that is present in the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. So, what all operations does this particular thrust control malfunction accommodation system look at? It looks at ground, takeoff and approach. It checks whether the thrust, it checks whether the aircraft is stationary or not. It safeguards against unintended thrust increases, failures to throttle down, engine overspeed and uncommanded thrust reduction as well. So, these are 4 points. And how does it exactly work? It compares engine power levels with predefined thresholds and automatically adjusts engine settings, either reduces it or shuts down the engine completely. So, this is done from the software side itself. So, this is what the global aviation expert Mary Schiavo was hinting towards. Group Captain UK Devnath with us on the broadcast. Thank you for waiting very patiently. I of course earlier read out the entire interview as well. Would you agree with what Ms. Schiavo has said as far as this fresh theory is floating around, whether a software glitch could have caused malfunction in the engines and the eventual tragedy?
PI aviation industry in last 20 years is now heavily dependent on various kinds of softwares designed for aircraft safety, aircraft operations and aircraft optimization. What happens that these are various computer controlled processes which are part of operations of an aircraft. They ensure firstly that either intentionally or unintentionally no mistakes are made by the pilot or any other crew. Sometimes error by ground crew also may lead to mishandling of hydraulic system, engine system. Now this soft grade software, when it is made, it is put through large number of simulated checks. That means each and every contingency is planned, thought, and what can go wrong at each step is again investigated, simulated on a simulator. Goes without saying that probably human being cannot envisage or imagine each contingency in detail. The theory is that probably it was a software glitch. Being an ex-pilot, I fully agree that no computer system is always foolproof. There are occasions in the past also when, because of various software programming faults, software error faults, the aircraft performance, aircraft did not follow the obey of aircraft did not obey the controls given by the pilot. We have a case where one Airbus came in for landing. It could not land because of heavy rain. Now the pilot decided to go round. He opened full throttle. This is about 20 years ago. He opened full throttle, but the aircraft judged that the command is for landing. So when the pilot physically opened full throttle by pushing the levers fully forward, the aircraft computer decided no, it is time to land. So it reduced the engine RPM to idling position. It has happened. Similarly, 5 years ago, we had a series of cases on Boeing 737 MAX aircraft in which due to, I will not say due to faulty programming of the computer settings, but due to unintended setting of the computers, the aircraft in some categories decided suddenly to pitch down. That means nose of the aircraft suddenly, because of certain wrong inputs, nose of the aircraft came down because inputs were correct, but the computer analyzed them wrong. So 737 MAX, the nose will come down and dive towards the ground. 2-3 of them crashed like this also. Horrific crashes took place 4 years ago, 3 years ago. These kind of glitches are very rare, but they do happen. It happens in fighter aircraft also. Now, did this actually took place? Computer did this particular failure, misinterpretation and miscue and miscommand by the computer actually happened in this instance is yet to be proven. Work is on. Our aircraft accident investigation board in their laboratory are checking this flight data recorder. We have representatives from ICAO, International Civil Aviation Organization. They are mandatorily supposed to observe and supervise the investigations. Government of India is supposed to give some kind of a preliminary investigation brief within 30 days of the crash. We are already approaching that deadline. These are ICAO requirements. DGCA is at it. Most important is this FDR is simultaneously being supervised. Opening of the FDR cockpit recorder is simultaneously being supervised also by representatives from Boeing. We have to realize that it is their primary interest to ensure that if something went wrong, what went wrong. Let's not forget that all over the world, more than 1,044 Dreamliners are flying around even now at present. Even India also is clearing them one by one for flying after certain mandatory checks. So it is interest of everyone, including the engine manufacturer GE, who wants to ensure that firstly, reputation of their firm is not, their product is not affected. And secondly, in case there was some error in the engine or input command given to engine, in case there was some error, then GE would like to carry out certain repair, rectification, modifications, and probably future design of engines by GE will be ensuring that such a misinterpretation of a correct command by onboard computer does not take place. Yes.
Indeed. In fact, let's also take a look at what exactly is the difference between the ANA Boeing aircraft crash in 2019 that was referred to by Mary Schiavo, as well as the current Air India 171 crash which has taken place in Ahmedabad, in which 275 people have lost their lives. We've drawn up this comparison for our viewers. In the 2019 case, it was the Boeing 747 SR, which was rolled out in 1973. It was then a Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, which was introduced in October 26, 2011. So this was the aircraft type, the Boeing 7878 Dreamliner. The crash had taken place 12 minutes after takeoff in case of the 2019 Japan Airlines. It was flying for quite some time, and over here in Air India's case, it took place a mere 32 seconds after takeoff, which is approximately 4 miles from the takeoff site itself. The cause in the 2019 case was structural failure due to improper maintenance, leading to explosive decompression and loss of control. And in Air India's case, it will of course be known after the black box analysis whether Boeing software failure led to it or not. It's currently suspected at the moment. So this is of course the difference between these two cases in particular, which of course the aviation expert highlighted. I'd like to come back across to Mr. Gautam Mukherjee. Sir, we lost you out in between. You were trying to complete your point back then. We've seen also over the last several years that there have been many Boeing employees, whistleblowers in particular, who've come forward and raised concerns about safety and quality control issues. And as far as issues regarding maneuvering characteristics, augmentation systems in the 787 and 737 are concerned, the US Department of Justice earlier found that Boeing tried to hide these issues as well. So how careful does the DGCA now have to be?
Well, the DGCA is being very diligent, particularly in terms of this crash, which has occurred after many years involving an Indian airline. But there have been increasing comments and criticisms of Boeing systems, Boeing aircraft, Boeing performance. This has even led to a change of leadership in Boeing. So there is every possibility that there is something wrong at Boeing, and in terms of the maintenance and overhauling of engines at GE, that might be responsible for this loss of thrust and the other associated issues. The software, like the previous speaker said, has many redundancies built into it. If one thing malfunctions, another thing takes over. So it is a little facile to think that it can happen because one thing goes wrong and that is the end of that. If there is sabotage, that's a possibility that needs to be looked into. But I think two areas that need to be investigated thoroughly are the maintenance of this particular aircraft, how carefully it was done, whether it threw up any issues which were brushed under the carpet at the time, or if there was absolutely nothing wrong. That is one possibility. I do not think there was any pilot error involved. It has to do with the functioning of the actual aircraft or the malfunctioning of the software. That is a possibility, but not the only one.
All right, sir. I'd like to thank you as well as Group Captain Devnath and Wing Commander Sudhakaran for taking out time speaking to NewsX this afternoon. Viewers, of course, another important angle, another important theory has now been put forth by renowned global aviation expert Mary Schiavo. She's given an exclusive interview to NewsX's sister newspaper, The Sunday Guardian. You can find this interview online at the website itself. I read it out to you earlier. Of course, as the mystery behind this tragedy still remains to be decrypted, all eyes are on the black box and what exactly will the findings be that will come to light. That's all we have for now. Stay tuned for more on NewsX.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.